Dr. Radha Raghunathan, our director. She holds an MA in Indian philosophy, MA in applied Sanskrit. She earned her PhD from the University of Madras for her thesis titled The Contribution of Tattva Rayar to Tamil Advaitam, with special reference to Sasivanna Bodham. She is a researcher, author, translator of Vedanta related works and manuscripts, editor and reviewer. Currently, she is the honorary director and general editor at the Adyar Library and Research Center. She has presented several papers at national and international seminars and symposia. She has published several articles in reputed research journals and newspapers. Notable among them are Kusam with 2 commentaries, Bellamkonda Ramaraya Kavis, Vedanta Muktavali with introduction and notes, translation with notes on Parasara's Bhattas Ashtasloki in Sanskrit with Prativadi, Bhayankaram Annangaracharya's Sarartha Deepikai, commentary in Manipravala. There are many others, and the last one is her forthcoming book is a translation of Vedanta Samyavali, a compendium of terms prevalent in Advaita Vedanta, with her commentary titled Radha Prakashika in English. I'm sorry for the wrong pronunciation. Dr. Radha.
She's tense. When she gets a little excited, she fumbles.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jayashree, for that introduction. So, I'm not going to give much speech. To tell you very frankly, I couldn't prepare much. I was too busy organizing this whole thing and trying to finish this last book of mine, which has to be taken, on Sunday morning. So, I didn't find much time to do my speech, but I will speak, whatever little I have. Now, the topic that I have chosen, it's not here, the transferring allegories from text to stage. And I would like to explore some possibilities and problems in transferring the text, the allegorical text, to stage. And this I'm going to do as an interactive session with all of you. First, I will just give you my thoughts about this, and then we can, time permitting, we will, to the extent of the time we have, let us get into that discussion. Now, in Sanskrit, drama, I'm talking about drama from the perspective of allegory. But drama in general is called Rupakam in Sanskrit. And Rupaka means a form. Now, Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, we have been discussing over the past 2 days. He has been discussing the grammar of what drama is, what theatre should be, and everything. So I will not go into all that, and there has been a good literature also on all that. But we generally, there has been a commentary on Natya Shastra, and the first commentary was by Dhananjaya called Dasharupaka, and Dasharupaka has been commented upon by his brother Dhanika, and there Dhananjaya in Dasharupaka says that there are 10 types of plays. So that means any allegorical drama also would fall within these 10 types. I am not going into the names because I don't wish to. Now, in English, if I wanted to say what this word allegory means, it was first attested in the English dictionary, in the English vocabulary in 1382. And English is a language, a derived language from several other languages. Here the word allegory is from the Latin word allegoria, which means figurative. It has other meanings, but I will just go for what I want to use, figurative. And it literally means speaking about something else and what really is, what really you see. And then the Greek allegoria, now I said this Latin allegoria is itself from the Greek word allegoria, and that Greek word allegoria is a compound of two words again. One is allos. Allos means another or something else. And there is another word that agoria. That agoria, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a Greek word. Agoria, that means to speak in an assembly. That agoria itself is derived from agora, which means assembly. That means you speak in an assembly something different than what really is. That is allegory. And in a story, the allegory is always about patience, purity, truth, all the virtues and vices are what? Are presented in a drama form when it comes to allegorical plays. And that's what I am going to focus on. According to the Reader's Encyclopedia, allegory is a systematic symbolism by which abstractions are represented as accurately as possible by concrete characters, plots, and situations with identifying tag names. So we have some tag names, and this is what I'm going to show as an example when we discuss with one text. In the West, there have been, first of all, allegorical plays are there in almost all the languages in all the cultures. In the West, we see that it was prevalent in Europe and with biblical themes, and mostly in terms of the vices and the virtues, and they would all the moral qualities were depicted as characters, and the weaknesses in mankind were always assaulted by diabolical forces shown as the 7 deadly sins, and all this were overcome. These assaulting forces were overcome by some, with the help of some characters. For example, the 4 daughters of mercy is one of the themes in the Bible, which is mercy, justice, temperance, and truth. When it comes to plays, the very, very famous thing is and we see that most of these allegorical works are poetic form. Only some of them are played on stage. Now, the most famous that we see is the Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser in the 16th century. And what the European or the English allegorical plays or allegorical poems did was they not only used allegory to address the virtues, but they also used it to discuss religious issues and their political views. And that's what Fairy Queen does. It talks about the corruption. It actually tries to convey the corruption that was prevalent in the Catholic Church, and that the Reformation was going to be through the Protestant Church. That is one aspect in the religious side. At the same time, it was showing that Queen Elizabeth was worth glorifying, and was talking about the adventures of her knights, which will symbolize her realm. So this is on the political side. This is how Fairy Queen is an allegorical poem dealing with both the religious as well as the political issues. Now this morality plays. Straight away they talk about be good, be truthful, all these. They were intermediate, meant for the people who are not so acclimatized to all the serious issues of understanding and everything, but it was at a slightly low, easier level of understanding, easier level of conveying, and naturally they didn't need very professional actors to perform them. Ordinary people were performing them, and that was so aesthetically they were inferior to what the poetic allegorical plays were. And what about the allegorical plays in our Indian languages? In Indian languages, an allegorical play is called a Rupatmaka Natakam. And in Tamil we say it is a Uruvaka Natakam. Now the origins of our Sanskrit drama, allegorical dramas, can be traced back to the Vedic times. Again, I said we can never do away with the Vedas for any origin. All natural phenomenon like the Surya or the Soma or the fire and so on were transformed into gods and goddesses. We look at the Vedas will portray them as divine beings, and what we do is when we portray them in our poems or in our plays, we portray them as gods, the characters, the godly characters. And in the Chandogya Upanishad, we see how the characterization of the sense organs, the superiority of prana over the other sense organs is portrayed in the Chandogya Upanishad. In the Nirukta, Vidya, knowledge, is personified. In the Yoga Vasishta, time is personified. In the Mahabharata Adi Parva, Dharma is said to have 10 wives. And what are those 10 wives? There are some 10 virtues. I will not get into the names. In the Bhagavata Purana, Narada narrates the story of Puranjana to Prachina Barhis. In the story, Puranjana gets separated from his friends and he goes astray, and naturally he gets into a few unrighteous ways. And the friends are worried, so they want to get him back. And there, Puranjana's wife is Buddhi. So, finally, the salvation, what happens is the friends take pity on that king because Puranjana is the king, and they try to help him into the path of salvation through bhakti, and he is liberated. So, in that story, now Narada is reciting this to Prachina Barhis, and Narada himself will give the interpretation of that story. That is in the Bhagavata Purana. He will say, King Puranjana is the jiva, the individual soul, which experiences various sorrows and sufferings. His wife is buddhi, that is the intellect. That means every person is endowed with this buddhi as your spouse, your partner. And the friend whom he forgets and goes astray is the supreme being. This is what Narada interprets in the Bhagavata Purana through the story of Puranjana. So there we see an allegory already at play. And we also have the stories of the Panchatantra and the Hitopadesha, in which we come across so many animals and birds and everything, and all of them are given names, human names, and characters, as if they are personified, who can play, who can think, who can talk. And this system of this is all in text actually. But what about enacting them? The allegorical characters, that is characterization of all these in dramas, they begin with Ashwagosha. Now Buddhi, he wrote one drama called the Shari Putra Prakarana. But in that drama, he uses some fragments of allegorical characters. The whole drama is not completely with, not all the characters are allegorical. Some, you have a few here and there. For example, Buddhi, wisdom, Kirti, fame, Dhriti, firmness. These are some fragmentary characters which are allegorical in nature, and they appear as if they are human characters in that drama of Ashwagosha. So that was the beginning of allegorical drama in our literature, in our Indian literature. Then fully fleshed, fully developed allegorical dramas followed soon. We have many. The first of its kind, of a fully developed one, is by Jayanta Bhatta, the author of Nyaya Manjari. His Agama Dambara in the 10th century is the first of the kind of allegorical drama, fully developed allegorical drama. Now, regarding this, how much of how many allegorical dramas have been written, what have been published, what have been unpublished, one scholar, has done a thesis on it, Shodha Prabandha. Omkaranatha has done a thesis titled Shodha Prabandha. In that he gives a list of 48 allegorical dramas, of which 16 are already published, and works like Prabodha Chandrodaya of Krishna Mishra, Sankalpa Suryodaya of Vedanta Deshika, also known as Venkatanatha, Chaitanya Chandrodaya of Kavi Karnapura, Amritodaya of Gokulanatha are some among the published works. And among the unpublished allegorical dramas, he quotes the Bhakti Vaibhava of Jivadeva. And this play, allegorical drama, if anybody is interested, it is listed in the triennial catalogue of manuscripts collected from the GOML Madras. And it also is seen in the descriptive catalogue of Sanskrit manuscripts in our Adyar library. Another unpublished manuscript is Bhavana Purushottama Nataka, which is mentioned by Omkaranatha. This is by Ratnaketa Srinivasa Dikshita. It is available, the manuscript is available at Saraswati Mahal Library. And about this unpublished work, Sri Chintamani writes in his foreword in a book that we published, the Rukmini Kalyana Mahakavya, and there he gives some information about this work, Bhavana Purushottama Nataka, and the author Ratna Ketha Srinivasa Dikshita. So we see that yes, these have already been published, and there they are trying to fix the date. Now my concern, what I am focusing here is, when did our allegorical plays start in a full-fledged form? And there, it has been said in that introduction by Chintamani sir, that we can perhaps fix the date in about probably around 1550 or so, that is between the 15th and 16th century. Another work which is published by us, Sankalpa Suryodaya, by Sri Vedanta Deshika, alias Venkatanatha, of the 11th to 12th century. First it was published in our journal Brahma Vidya as far back as when 1947, and later it was brought out in 2 volumes, edited by Pandit P. Krishnamacharya. It is a highly appreciated manuscript, highly appreciated version of Sankalpa Suryodaya. Unfortunately, it is out of print for many years, and that's where it is. And I have it here. This is it. It was published in 2 volumes. Sankalpa Suryodaya by the Adyar Library publications. You can't see this because there's a whole wall. Yes, the 2 commentaries, yes. Ahobalacharya, yes, it is published with 2 commentaries. Very rare, because Ahobalacharya's commentary was the first time it was published by us. So these in 2 volumes it is published, and it is considered to be one of the best editions available on Sankalpa Suryodaya. Anyway, now regarding the date of Sankalpa Suryodaya, there is an internal evidence that it was written in Srirangam. So, if that means if Sri Vedanta Deshika had wrote it in Srirangam, it must have been before the Mohammedan invasion of Srirangam. That is how we fix the date. So, this is how we are saying that okay, we have to somehow find a date when it was written, but this is this should be. Approximately we have to fix a date before the Mohammedan invasion of Srirangam. and his fleeing to Mysore. So we have to put them together. And it is believed by the devout followers of Deshika that it was written overnight. And here our Pandit would like to really be a little wary of such a claim, though he will not dismiss it as totally this one wrong, because we give respect to traditions also. So he doesn't say that. I said, okay, that is suspect, but still let us accept it. Now, this Sankalpa Suryodaya is an allegorical drama based on the Visishtadvaita philosophy. It is written very strictly according to the rules of Sanskrit drama. It consists of 10 acts besides the Prastavana, which is called the prologue, and the Vishakambas, which are all the interludes. And this play is said to be Vedanta Deshika's reply to Krishna Mishra's Prabodha Chandrodaya. Prabodha Chandrodaya is an allegorical drama based on Advaita Vedanta. Now, if this is Vedanta Deshika's reply to Prabodha Chandrodaya, automatically Krishna Mishra's Prabodha Chandrodaya is earlier to Vedanta Deshika's Sankalpa Suryodaya. Now, in this play, Sankalpa Suryodaya, the play views the Atman, Prabodha Chandrodaya, it views the Atman as one without a second, and that the cause of human bondage is ignorance of the absolute identity between the individual self and that the absolute self. That is, forgetting its identity between the Jivatman and the Paramatman is the cause of bondage, is what Advaita Vedanta bases its philosophy on. And it says that therefore the only means for liberation is this knowledge of the self. On the other hand, Deshika Sankalpa Suryodaya, it stresses on the Visishtadvaita theme of surrender principle. Prapati sir would know because he is actually this thing of the Prapati principle. The urge, the Sankalpa of the Lord to save all the sufferers is a given according to Visishtadvaita. It is a given. It means it's a Siddha Upaya. But the effort as a means to deserve this deliverance, that it is the effort is called the Sadhya Upaya from darkness or sorrow, that is wanting on the part of the individual self. The individual self must have that wanting, and the individual self must put forth that effort. So here, what actually we see the paradox, we are able to see the contrast. The title Prabodha Chandrodaya of Krishna Mishra means the moon rays of knowledge. Vedanta Deshika Sankalpa Suryodaya has 3 significant messages in relation to Prabodha, the title itself, Prabodha Chandrodaya. It means complete removal of darkness can happen only through sunlight and not moonlight. Because moon is only a reflector of sunlight and it is not the self-luminous like the sun. And the third thing is self-efforts or self-realization are required for liberation, no doubt. But beyond these efforts, the grace of Lord, His saving grace, that is the Sankalpa of the Lord, is a must for liberation. And the self must not only realize its true nature, but it must be restored to its true status. Now, according to this one, Visishtadvaita, they say, Advaita says, you realize your true nature and then you're liberated, is what is Advaitic understanding. But what Visishtadvaita says, it's not enough to only know who you are, but you have to restore that Jivatma to its true status. So, here we see, and this is one way of looking at it. And then there are also, like the editors have pointed out, we can see parallels of this epic of Sankalpa Suryodaya with the Ramayana. Now, but Vedanta Deshika, he uses 2 analogies in his title, in his Sankalpa Suryodaya title. The rays of the sun are ready to dispel darkness. It is not going to differentiate between whether it is a pond or a lake or a river, it's a cesspool or anything. The sun is ready to dispel the darkness. Similarly, Lord Rama is ready to save Sita in the epic. But from the perspective of the story of Rama and Sita, Sita is enamored by the beauty of the bewitching and unnatural deer Maricha. Much like the individual is always enamored by all the false attractions in the world. Sita, when she is enamored by the deer, she banishes the Lord, so to speak. You please go get me that deer. So she banishes the Lord to get that deer caught for her. And when the Lord is banished, within quotes, what happens? Ignorance will rear its head. And this is typified by the 10-headed Ravana. And commentator Govindaraja, he gives the meaning of the term Ravana as Ravayati Asad Pralappan Karayati. That is, an agency which makes one cry for the impossibilities and unrealities and discomforts. As a result, Sita is kidnapped and imprisoned in the pleasure grove. That is a sorrowless grove, Ashokavana. Na Shokaha Atra. That is Ashokavana. And that pleasure grove, where is it? It is in an island. And that island signifies one's own body, which is struggling in the sea of sorrow or samsara. And the prison where she is held, that pleasure grove, is actually full of misery. And where is it? It is there within our own heart. So, the paradox is, this heart is also the seat of the Lord. And the expiation or the prayashta is when Sita is no more tempted by the beauty around her. That is when the prayashta begins. And when she begins to concentrate on Rama and she begins to see him everywhere. And this expiation is again self-imposed. Then she is ready to be saved. So too with the individual. Then on his part, Rama sends his messengers around on all directions to find Sita. When the individual is ready to be saved, the Lord also sends forth some help or the other to save the drowning soul. Lord Hanuman is one of those messengers who finds Sita, and only Hanuman is able to fly across the sea and cross over the deep oceans, find the wailing Sita, and also reassure her of being saved by Rama soon. Here, Hanuman signifies the preceptor, the Guru. And Hanuman presents Lord Rama's signet ring, that Anguliyaka Pradhana is what it is, which signifies the Lord's readiness and willingness to end the imprisonment. It signifies his granting immunity from fear. That signifies the Abhaya Pradhana on the part of the Lord, and his initiation to end the exile or imprisonment. Here, Sita responds. How does she respond to that? By giving her crust jewel, that is Chudamani. This giving of the crust jewel symbolizes the surrender of one's ego unconditionally. Sharanagati or Prapatti, that is the principle of Vaishnavism or Vishtadvaita for liberation. Whether one surrenders directly to the Lord, we have that principle. I will not go into the philosophy of that. Whether you surrender directly or through a preceptor, through the agency of the preceptor, surrender is central in the philosophy of Vishtadvaita. Even to know the greatness of the Lord, that's what he said. It is not enough to realize. The Jivatma must be restored to its natural state. And at this juncture, when the self has shown the willingness to be reclaimed, when it has surrendered its center of erroneous behavior, when the Lord has assured redemption, then the preceptor returns to the Lord to act as a bridge, as a setu. And instantaneously, the urge or sankalpa arises in the Lord to save this drowning Jivatma. And what the Lord does at that time is, he installs the bridge of compassion. He slays the demons of all this egoism, lust, hatred and so on, and he redeems the Jivatma, which is actually his consort. In Ramayana, he redeems Sita. And to the Lord, every soul is his consort. So, not just redeeming, he restores his queen to his seat at Vaikuntha. Similarly, the redeemed souls are restored to his abode in Vaikuntha. And there are altogether in the Sankalpa Suryodaya 44 characters, male and female, good and bad. And here, King Viveka, discrimination, is the leader of the characters promoting the fulfillment of the dawn of Sankalpa Suryodaya. And Mahamoha, the great delusion, is the leader of the characters obstructing the path of attaining that final bliss. So much for Sankalpa Suryodaya, the structure. Now, how is it a good allegorical play worth going on to stage? We, in Sanskrit dramas, we talk about 4 types of heroes. The self-controlled and the Dhiro Datta. I will not get into the, the English translations of all this because I have had hardly 5 more minutes to finish. So, we have the Dhiro Datta, Dhira Lalita, Dhiro Datta and Dhira Prashanta. All the gods are Dhiro Dattas. The kings are light-hearted, they are self-controlled, they are Dhira Lalitas. The ministers are self-controlled and exalted, they are Dhiro Datta. The Brahmins and merchants, Vaishyas, all of them are self-controlled and calm. So Dhira Prashanta and Viveka of Sankalpa Suryodaya. Discrimination. He is one of them, which is what Vedanta Deshira says. And before we come as to what he is presented as, I think Dhira Prashanta. Now, he is actually one of the 3 sons born to Purusha. Purusha is the Lord. And his wife Buddhi. The father Purusha has 3 qualities. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And Buddhi begets Viveka when Sattva is predominant in her husband. Because Prakriti is with Purusha. When Prakriti, the Sattva is predominant, then Viveka is born. Mahamoha when Tamas is predominant. And then Rajas, Raga and other things are born when Rajas is this one. So, Viveka is portrayed as Jita Krodha, the one who has actually conquered anger. And he is characterized as a man of pure wisdom. But his father Purusha here is a Jivatma, not the Lord Purusha, but we have to take it as Jivatma Purusha. The Jivatma, it suffers troubled and beginning the sleep brought about by the night, constituted by these 3 gunas of Prakriti. And Viveka's wife, Sumati means the right-mindedness. It asks her husband, now Purusha is actually the father, right, of these, and Viveka is one of the sons. And Viveka's wife, Sumati, asks Viveka, how are we going to help this Purusha get liberation, because he is suffering with so much of sleepless nights, wallowing in sorrow. And there are times when Viveka gets feels a little helpless. But again, he regains his composure and he tells her, no, it is going to be possible. We are going to, this will definitely be possible. We'll be able to help Purusha regain his real nature. So I have not gone into this one, but in this play, we find it is not only talking about the Visishtadvaita philosophy. In certain acts, there is the refutal of other philosophies like the Bhavada, Sankhya, Yoga, Pashupata, Vaisheshika, Nyaya and Advaita, and that is Deshika's hallmark of his works. He will, if you get the slightest opportunity, you will have to say that other ones have these flaws. And that is what he makes use of even in an allegorical play as Sankalpa Suryodaya. And there have been several allegorical plays in later times. I will not go into the names there. Most of them are from Kerala. And after this one. Now, I would like to, when I said that when these allegorical plays are common in all languages. Why? Because drama is a medium for the direct, objective and impersonal representation of life on stage. And allegorical dramas, they convey the moral meanings in a veiled manner, moral or political information, or whatever is the political messages in a very veiled manner. And that is through personification of the abstract ideas like the virtues or vices or whatever is the benefits or the flaws in a political system. Now, when it comes to these philosophical allegories, the problem is, normally the study of philosophy is considered dull and abstruse, too deep and uninteresting. But a skillful dramatist, he makes it very interesting through his presentation on stage. And this allegory in drama is not a later invention by the poets. This is mentioned in the Natyashastra itself. That means it is part of the drama element that can be portrayed on stage. So we see that later poets like Damdin, Bhamaha and others, they developed this allegory, which again is called Rupaka in Sanskrit poetics. It is called Rupaka. They developed it to a very high degree as a valid device in drama. Drama means includes poetry and everything else. What about Tamil? In Tamil we have a wonderful confluence of all the three, the drama, the dance, music, everything else. EL is in Natak. Muttamil. Muttam. EL is all sounds and words. Isai is sound or words but musically rendered. And Natakam is again a combination of EL and Isai and the movements and arrangements that go along with depicting them. So, what Thirugnana Sambandar says, he says God had created both Sanskrit and Tamil. The two were God's two eyes. And Tamil scholars like Swaminatha Deshikar of the 17th century, he even denies that Tamil was even an independent language along with the South Indian vernaculars. He says it was only a correct offshoot of the divine Sanskrit. Anyway, I know that is something I don't want to get. But we have in Tamil, equivalent to these Rupaka Natakas in Sanskrit, we have a genre of poems called Parani. I'll use the Tamil way of pronouncing it as Bharani. The Parani literature, Kaligita Bharani and other things. And if we saw, we have in whether it is just as a text, as a poem, or it could be enacted as a play. The rasas of Bibhatsa, Bhayanaka, Jugupsa, Veera, Raudra, everything is there in allegorical dramas because there is always a fight between the virtue, the forces of goodness and badness. But the goal of the playwrights and of the play is to culminate in this Shantarasa. And this is not listed in Natya Shastra, but Anandavardhana and others, they talk about Shantarasa as a valid rasa. So, I would like to come back to what I was doing about this Sankalpa Suryodaya. Where is it? Yeah. Now in his foreword, V.P. Srinivasan writes that Vedanta Deshika himself was very confident of how this Sankalpa Suryodaya deserves to be played, that it deserves all the honor of being a fully wonderful play. And he says, the most noteworthy fact in the Prastavana is what, I said the prologue, is what at first strikes one as an extravagant claim made by the author, that is Vedanta Deshika, in the cause of not only the written drama but the acted play. Prabodha Chandrodaya and Sankalpa Suryodaya were enacted, but not for long, and they were not very popular, and that's what we will if you have a few minutes, we'll just discuss and leave for a tea. He declares in a well-known passage that there is no science or art worth its name if it is not capable of being portrayed in a drama. The claim there has reference to Shanti or the emotive peacefulness as a possible or appropriate motive in a drama. So I'll stop there, I will not go further than that. So he says, considering even from the mere point of view of a composition in Sanskrit, the play is entitled to take a high rank in Sanskrit literature. And so I would say about the Tamil works, I would be mentioning Agnyavadai Parani or Mohavadai Parani, Pasavadai Parani. All these are war poems, they're written in the style of war poems where the hero, say delusion, will destroy ignorance, or the hero knowledge will destroy ignorance, where discrimination will destroy delusion, and so on. This is how this allegory happens even in Tamil poems. And Agnyavadai Parani and Mohavadai Parani are longer Parani poems written by Tatvarayar in the 15th century. Pasavadai Parani was written later. But in the Sanskrit, this he writes about this Srinivasan, who writes a preface, says that it has not been popular in the sense of its not having enthused the common man is quite true. No such play can ever be on account of its special appeal only to philosophic minds. It was destined from its very conception not to be capable of making a general appeal to all students, even of Vedanta. It only proves conclusively that even in play, Vedanta cannot be popular. So that is one reason why these allegorical plays are not as popular as, say, a social drama or a political drama or anything else. But if we see, we have a lot of instances in Tamil on this allegorical usages of this one, which are worthy of being, taken to stage. Among the Parani poems, the first one that is popularly known is the Kalingathu Parani by Jayangondar in the 12th century. I will not go into the details of that because I'm already overshot my time. And then we have the Kanchavadai. The Tamil pronunciation is Kanchavadai. Actually, it means the destruction of Kamsa. And it is actually a mythology on Kamsa's destruction by Lord Krishna. And all Paranis, they are allegorical Paranis. And they have a structure in Tamil also. Just as I said in Sanskrit, you have a structure of drama. In Tamil, all Parani literature has a structure. And all of them must be written in something called the Kalithalai. That is what the Thali say. Of which we have Agnyavadai Parani, which Tatvaraya writes on his great Guru Shiva Prakasa, and Mohavadai Parani, in which the hero is his own Guru, Surupananda. Pasavadai Parani, Sivanyana Padayat Deshikar, is on how bondage, that is Pasha, is destroyed by Lord Shiva's grace. And there are a few more allegorical poems. A difference between this allegorical, the Rupaka, what we say Rupaka, and Upama comparison is that I will just give you a few examples. Like, see, when we say Pundarikam Iva Mukha, the face is like the lotus. The like is like. The comparison is there. But when I say Pundarikam Eva Mukha, the lotus itself, the face itself is the lotus. Then it becomes, this one. In Sanskrit literature, in Uttara Ramacharita, in the 4th Anka, we say Jata, Kausalya says, Jata, Pashyami te Mukha Pundarika. So on seeing Lava, she says this. And in Hindi, we say, Payoji maine Rama Ratan Dhana Payo. When I say I have got this Rama Ratan Dhan, there, I already made that Rama Ratan, Rama as a Ratan, the gem. Rama itself is a gem, as my wealth. And that is, again a Rupaka. And in English, again, we have to come back to English to understand everything because, we don't understand so many of our Indian languages ourselves without the use of English. In Sonnet 18, Shakespeare writes, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So when he says, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Comparison is there. And a few lines later he says, but thy eternal summer shall not fail. When he says eternal summer, your eternal summer, it has already gone into Rupakam, the metaphor, the allegory. And in Tamil, the famous Tyagaraja Bhagavata's song in Shivakavi, Vadaname Chandrabimbamo. When you say Vadaname Chandrabimbam, Rupakam already is there at play. Or Malaranda Sarojamu. Malaranda Sarojam again. Is the face itself is Malaranda Sarojam, a blossomed rose. Again is Rupakam. So we have all these elements already in our dramas. Then, if all of this are already there, then why is it they are not as popular as other dramas can be? Now see, yesterday, Sri Keshav Venkataraman was saying that the underlying theme or the principle of his painting or any art form for that matter is Anandam Brahmeti. That is what all these authors of allegorical dramas are striving at, to convey that Anandam Brahma. That is what they want to convey. And yeah. And like Dr. Rashri Ramakrishna mentioned in the context of a Gandharva form of music, the purpose of that Gandharva form of music is to go away from Natya or any performance with a sense of fulfillment. That means what? A sense of Shantarasa. And when all of that is there, why is it that these allegorical dramas are not as popular as any other drama? Are there any ways of restoring them, or are they going to become obsolete? Can we have just exactly 5 minutes to discuss this, and we can stop if we can.
Has to be presented in some form, right? So that much of understanding, I think scholarship is today wanting, yeah.
That's what he has mentioned.
So because I remember in CP Arts Foundation they used to have Sanskrit drama where
senior musicians like Nillavani and Madhavan used to act and perform at that. We've seen in Sanskrit college also they have performed. But today we don't see those dramas anymore.
No, my this thing is, it need not be in Sanskrit. This whole allegorical thing of all these things.
Okay, even if it is English.
Let it be English or Tamil, whatever. And you say even in Tamil.
This Uttama literature, whatever you're talking about, it requires a higher level of.
Yes, that's
more
exactly.
scholarship is required.
Required.
To understand.
I won't say Upama literature. I would say but when it comes to the philosophical themes, it requires.
Even anything, everything has to be blatantly put on the face. Only then.
Oh, this is that.
That is the problem. We don't have anything wrong. There in the form that where it requires our use of our intellect. That itself is.
No, but here we are actually, the question I am asking is, if you are personifying, you are giving names, and then the character is acting. Then, if that is so, is it something that I don't want to know about virtues and vices?
But that is not the problem.
Because when we talk about so much of social dramas, this one the romantic dramas, there is so many other things happening, and they are all
No, those are all feel good. We have, if there is any question of where that self comes, questioning, understanding, and then that is slightly, it requires some effort.
That's what the philosophy first. We have to understand the philosophy. If it is Visishtadvaita based Sankalpa Suryodaya, I must know the principles of Visishtadvaita. If it is Prabodha Chandrodaya, I must know the principles of Advaita. Otherwise, it will not succeed. That's the problem. So how do, and the thing is, they are incorporating all these principles, whatever you need to know about Visishtadvaita or Advaita. The author is trying to incorporate it as a lesson inside the play itself. And still, we don't want to get into it. I
that
think
was the unprepared speech for you. Thank you very much for this call.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh.